When I owned a business, I interviewed a lot of high school and college age students to work part-time for me. I used a standard set of questions with each interviewee, but I also had a couple of guidelines that I used to help me determine which ones to hire. One of those guidelines was that I would never hire anyone that wouldn't look me in the eye when they answered my questions. Why do you think that is? Yes, it's because good eye contact is a sign of trust and credibility. Have you ever heard the saying, never buy a horse from a man that won't look you in the eye? Same thing. Good eye contact is critical to building trust. We really need our audiences to trust us before they'll trust our message. And unfortunately, many speakers will let their nervousness come out through a lack of eye contact. Many times what people will do is they'll scan their audience. They'll just scan the room and not really ever make good one-on-one eye contact with any one person. Audiences don't really appreciate that. Another thing that people do sometimes is that they'll look down while they're talking. It gives the impression, I hope my notes are down there somewhere. Or they'll look up while they're thinking or talking, which is like, please help me get through this. So it really doesn't give that person a lot of credibility. But to me, the worst of all is when people read directly from their notes or from their visuals. You've heard the term death by PowerPoint. And in my opinion, that's exactly the reason why people say that, is because presenters many times will read directly from the slides. And nobody wants to be read to. If you've ever taken a presentation skills in the past, the instructor may have told you to look at the tops of people's heads to reduce nervousness. Research has shown that that is quite the opposite of what we should do. When you make good eye contact with the people in your audience, you actually build a rapport. It helps to calm you down and it gives you confidence. We know that we need to have good eye contact in our presentation toolkit. So how do we do that? What we suggest is very simple. We suggest that you meet the gaze of another and you talk to that person for approximately 5 seconds before moving on to the next person. A good rule of thumb is that you might talk to each person for an entire thought or sentence before moving on. Because we're not going to count to 5 in our heads while we're trying to figure out what we're saying, that's just an easy way to remember how to do that. I'll give you a short example. You'll never believe what happened the other day when I was walking my dog in the woods behind my house. I saw this plant. It looked like a Venus flytrap. I thought to myself, we don't have Venus flytraps in Texas, do we? So as you can see, I looked at each person for the entire thought or sentence that I presented. Having good eye contact with your audience can provide benefits to both you and your audience. For your audience, it's more dynamic. It also makes them feel more connected to you. Think about a presentation that you've seen in the past where the presenter just really wowed you. And think about how they used their eyes in that presentation. Did they look directly at you when they were talking? Did you see them building a relationship with the audience members? I bet they did. That is a sign of a good presenter. As far as the benefits to you as a presenter, as I mentioned before, building a rapport with your audience will actually help to calm you down and give you confidence. And even more importantly, it will allow you to read your audience's cues. Maybe there's someone in the audience that's confused. Or maybe there's someone in the audience that is disagreeing with you and you need to know that. Or maybe they're just getting restless and it's time for you to wrap up. So make sure when you're presenting to an audience, take the time to build rapport and trust with them, following the simple rule of making eye contact for a full thought or sentence before moving on to the next person. Thank you.